Today I'm updating my hardcore world to the brand new 121.5 Spring to Life Minecraft drop before we head out to explore it. The majority of the mods that I use seem to be updated, so we're off to find all the new items, mobs, and even some of the brand new 121.5 farms. This is my current world, last played in 121.4, and let's get into it. The first thing to know about 121.5 for technical players is that if you were using the standard chunkloader by Dark, it's broken. Now I do know they reverted this change in a later snapshot, but they reverted it by saying, we want to address it again in the future. So instead of playing around with whether or not I can keep it, I've chosen to replace my 5 main chunkloaders in a new style. This one will be by PlasmaBlade. And you can see that even though the cart's going through and it looks like this one's working for a second, the carts aren't being picked up and it will quickly break. I only have 5 of these, so I know there are people who are going to be in a lot worse shape than me. Mine are for the gravity block duper, dragon egg duper, iron farm, mob switch, and the warden switch. And the new chunkloaders are, in some ways, even better than the old ones, being spawn-proof. They're just not as elegant. They kind of look like a snow globe around your portals. I'll start with the iron farm since both sides are super easily accessible. Both chunkloaders here are way above the farm and kill chamber and on platforms for easy building. I wish all 5 were going to be this easy, but I do have 2 that are a bit scarier to work with later. The overworld side for both the mob and warden switches are deep in the ancient cities, with one of them having 75 wardens very nearby. As I was breaking the last of the old iron farm platform, I noticed a small texture issue. I'm still using my 121 vanilla tweaks as there was no specific 121.5, but it turns out I do need to update. For now, some beehives and bee nests won't show the right textures though. Okay, that was the nether side of Portal 1, let's jump over to the overworld and finish the iron farm. And with this chunkloader, a minecart travels repeatedly between the 2 dimensions on this rail. When it comes back, it falls down, bounces back, and then goes through the other side again. And this will keep a 3x3 area loaded around it. It's better than ender pearls for this kind of farm, as I'm keeping a larger area than a single chunk loaded on both the spawn and the kill sides, and there are some technical differences with how ender pearls work, as we found out when I chunk loaded my shulker farm in the end. We can now see the minecart bouncing between dimensions, so it's working properly. And this chunk loader also has an on-off switch on both sides, which I appreciate. 1 down, 4 to go. The next one up is a bit more dangerous. This is my warden switch. Essentially, I keep this chunk loader off most of the time, but when it's on, wardens can't spawn into my world in any ancient city. Feels a little too easy, so I don't use it a lot, but when I built the mob switch, I had to summon over 70 wardens into the world, and I felt it was necessary then to keep me safe from the warden spawning while I built the tower. I don't actually think it's been on since. Anyway, disabling this should be as easy as removing this sensor, and then I can just work in peace. Looks like the arrow's missing, this wouldn't have worked anyway. This is the chunk loader I need to change here. As I said, these PlasmaBlade loaders are really nice. They're definitely bigger and a bit bulkier than Darks though, and in a few places that meant I had to dig a new area to build them as well. Near the end of this portal rebuild, I made a small mistake in the water, and you can see why this can be a scary one to have to replace. Oh well, that's 1 strike, surely it's fine. After placing this card in, I'll be done here and... Uh-oh. Oh no. So it turns out you need to make these face opposite directions, and I knew that, but I forgot. Given the option of flipping the overworld side or the nether though, I clearly chose the nether. I'm glad I didn't have to flip the one with all the wardens that could spawn on the other side. Okay, rebuild done, let's see how it goes. There we go, this chunk loader's now working. Only 3 left to go. Okay, let's do the dangerous one. If I was a real YouTuber, I probably would have taken a backup of my world before building this and just flown through it. No mistakes, no issues, if something goes wrong. No, it didn't. But I'm not that smart. This is the mob switch, and by summoning and loading 70 wardens into my world, no other hostile mobs can spawn. I use this to build mainly, and I often have it turned on for the early bits of a project and off for the later bits or whenever I go exploring. I know a lot of people are put off by stuff like this, but it's a very common thing in the technical Minecraft community, which I obviously play within, so... Okay, there they are. I needed 70, but overfilled it, so there's about 80 wardens always in there. Without all my resource packs and sound muffling, they're so loud. I've reduced the volume for you guys by about 20 decibels. That may not sound like much. Here's the real volume. I try to be super careful around here. The last thing I want is to mess with these boys. They're distracted by a note block sound machine, but that doesn't mean I'm safe. I want to turn down the volume for myself, so I bounced away a bit and remembered that this city isn't cleared out at all. So that's what we call strike 2. Let's try and be more careful now. And with this side done, I can return and turn it on. I had 2 more to do, but this one's for the gravity duper, which makes our sand, concrete powder, and such. This was completed uneventfully, as was the dragon egg duper, and that's all the existing chunk loaders upgraded to a new 121.5 design. While standing on the Guardian farm, I can actually see all 5 and whether or not they're running, which is actually pretty helpful, I've found. Alright, let's go explore 121.5 and... Oh god, I forgot the bee nest texture is so bad where I've built with them. 121.5 introduces a bunch of new flora, or plant life. It includes leaf litter, cactus flowers, tall and short dry grass, bushes, wildflowers, and firefly bushes. We're also going to be on the lookout for the new hot biome and cold biome mobs, new chicken eggs, lodestones in ruined portals, and bundles in villager chests. I started in the nearby desert. I don't think we'll see any of the cactus flowers out here as these are all old chunks, but if anything's unexplored, it definitely would have been a fast way to find some of the new goodies. My first spot though were these firefly bushes. I lost them but then saw more. And I wasn't sure if I was going to need shears for these. I don't, but it didn't hurt to make sure we had some first. And fireflies in Minecraft. We finally got our 2 pixels, just as 1 pixel and not how we imagined. It's all ruined. Start over. I collected a few more of the nearby bushes. We'll take a closer look at these in the future as they look better at night, but finding them was today's main goal. And you can bone meal firefly bushes. They spread to nearby blocks in the same pattern as glow lichen. This is the same with the bushes, dry grasses, and most of the new flora from the update actually. With a few in my pocket, I decided to give it a punch, and no shears needed, too easy. Nothing else was super nearby, so I flew much further away from home, about 5,000 blocks out in a random direction. I spotted a ruined portal with our first chance at the new loot. There was nothing inside, but I said it was a chance. Flying fast and far, it wasn't long before I found another though, and this time, after some very careful landing, I have no idea what I was doing there. Anyway, we found 2 lodestones in this chest. It's very interesting being able to loot these in the overworld. For a long time, they've only been available in bastions, which are just scarier and way more dangerous, or by crafting them with a netherite ingot, so it's a very expensive block, one of the most expensive in the game. Here I was mostly focused on leaf litter, but found a fallen birch log with both types of mushroom growing out of it. And I know Bedrock's had that for a long time, but for us Java players, it's a cool sight and makes the world feel just a little bit more interesting. I decided to sleep in the village before going after the leaf litter. Okay, on the village. Leaf litter is probably the most recognizable item from the update, and the one I think you'll get sick of seeing first. It's very, very, very common in forests and basically everywhere. You can mine it without a tool, and you can even use a water bucket to dislodge a ton of it quickly. I picked up over 4 stacks in under a minute and decided to worry about getting more later. You can make a farm for leaf litter, kind of, but I'll show you what I mean when we're back at home. Wildflowers are mainly found in birch forests, and they're very common, almost difficult to spot. They blend in very well, and I nearly flew over these before spotting them. And like leaf litter and pink petals, these wildflowers grow in patches of up to 4, and like pink petals, you can bone meal them directly to get more. In fact, our existing pink petal farm works 100% the same on these, and when we get to farms later, you'll see me simply copy that farm over, and we can get infinite wildflowers. In this same forest, I also spotted bushes, and those you do need to shear. They're fairly different to firefly bushes in how you collect and farm them. I found a handful but looked for more to no avail. And this acacia village was the first time I spotted the new vanilla mobs, starting with this cow, these pigs, and eventually this chicken. I wanted at least a couple of the red chicken eggs for storage, so I waited around with this guy for quite a while until he dropped the first. And then I found a group of a few more and put them in a small hole to get more eggs before leaving with about 4. Another ruined portal meant another lodestone. And then finally, after a few thousand more blocks, another desert. And then from here, cactus flowers and dry grasses were a given, and yes, we need shears for this part. Let me get some of these to start. I love the cactus flowers, and I want a bunch of these. My plan here is simply to drop a piece of sand next to the cactus, break it all off. That way the cactus flower doesn't fall onto the cactus, which actually destroys it. You can farm these as well, but the farms are very slow, so I want to get at least a half stack before we leave. And bone mealing the small grasses first grows them up and then spreads it out like bushes and firefly bushes as well. Again, shears just smash those, as does a silk touch tool, but I didn't know that at the time. Okay, let's get to work. Just a quick note on this one, but camels can now spawn away from villages, like this guy. He's just chilling in the desert night, kinda cool. The dry grasses help the desert look better and more complete, but I really love the contrast they give the mesas. It's not much, but it's nice. I'm just a simple kind of guy sometimes, I don't know. So far we've had some really productive adventures. Lodestones, firefly bushes, leaf litter, wildflowers, bushes, eggs, dry grasses, cactus flowers, and even village bundles. I continued to do the same on the way home, with more lodestones, more village chests, more bundles, and so on. And then I tried to find all the cold biome animals. This was more difficult than everything else put together. I thought they would spawn in all cold biomes, but it's a very limited list. I searched every cold and snowy spot I could find, but no luck. My elytra was nearly broken, and I wasn't that far from home, so I went there to repair. I also fixed vanilla tweaks while I was here, so no more broken bee nest texture. I did seem to screw up my water though. It's very, very, very blue, and I don't know why. Oh well, one more thing to fix later. It was time to head to the cold part of my world. And as I said earlier, finding mobs in these biomes was challenging, mostly because I didn't understand where they can and can't spawn. Windswept gravelly hills are significantly better for this than snowy beach, and these mountaintops are almost always covered in goats and rabbits, not cows and pigs. First cold chicken I found was actually just a normal one, so I heated them up. Walking through a snowy taiga, however, I did manage to find the cold pigs and cold chickens, so I quickly dropped in a hole to await my eggs. It took a few minutes, but I did get 3 and then I headed home. Back at home, without having seen the cold biome cow for hours, I took out my frustration with the destruction and removal of 2 farms we will no longer need. ENXO4's tree farm has been moved out to the tree complex in the perimeter, and the fungi farm followed it out there. This farm was built around 200 days into my world, and it's one of the oldest things remaining in the world, so it's slightly bittersweet to pull it down, but the mushroom island is pretty full and I need the space. I won't use this here anymore, so it makes sense. And removal of old farms is something I never did before this world, but to keep the world looking and working how I want, it's sometimes just what I need to do. We've already removed the old sheep farm, iron farm, villager breeder, the original trading hall area, the first creeper farm, all the honey farm stuff, all from my first 2 or 3 episodes of the series. I've also removed one of the old cobblestone generators, the old lava farm, and more. Being on the Mushroom Island reminded me to build the 6th chunkloader. This one will be for the amethyst farm I built not long ago. Before building it, I ensured the entire farm would be inside the 3x3 chunk area, and with it now done, my amethyst farm will be functional full-time when I'm in the world. Over time, we'll definitely accumulate a lot of shards and can make all the tinted glass we ever want. For our farms today, we're going to be doing some simple little casual farms to start with. It's important to me to get a farm for everything that we can. It's not important for me that they do 50,000 whatnots per hour yet, and simply replacing our pink petals with the yellow wildflowers shows me this farm doesn't need to change at all, so let's quickly go and double that up. Okay, our wildflower farm is now completely done. What a great 5-second build. I knew this one would be easy. I think for the firefly bush farm, I'm going to use a new farm designed by Mortings. Like everything always is, it'll be in the description. Just a flick of this lever here and that should be it. Now we'll get all the firefly bushes I could ever want. I'll fix the observers later to double the speed of this, but for now that design is good enough. It's playerless, automated, and I can just leave it running as long as I have bone meal. And just like that, we have over a stack. And I may put one just right here. I think I'll do the same thing for wildflowers and pink petals. I kind of like that. I'll be designing my own farm for the bushes and the dry grasses, but before then I thought I'd show you that these spread similar to glow lichen, but again, you can't break them by hand. Oops. Okay, so if I put this in here and turn it on, for the same reason as my fist breaks it, so does the piston. This will not work. So what I need is a way for them to be bone mealed and then placed in front of my shears. That'll be the same for grasses, so a farm that works for one will work for both. Even though I'm going to show you what I built, don't pay attention to this. As of this video being live, I've also released a brand new bush and dry grass farm to go with it. We'll get to that one later. So this one works the same as the firefly bushes, except when I put the bush here, I won't piston over the gap, and I can't have this glass. If the one in the back gets bone mealed, this new one is now shearable. And that's our first bush farm technically done. This is just how the build process goes sometimes when you build things in survival for the very first time. So now all I need to do is duplicate this one and make a dry grass farm. And there it is. Okay, maybe I forgot the dispenser, it's fine. So now if I turn this one on, I can get both short and dry grasses and bushes. Collection's a bit messy, but we'll fix that up in a minute. One idea I had was a way to get the tall dry grass. If I put a second dispenser here and bone meal the short dry grass automatically, it should grow up. Unfortunately, the timing and speed didn't really work out that way, and I was still getting mostly short dry grass. Eventually I added this stair between the two farms, and I'm left with just a really small area to see through and shear the bushes. This is working pretty great, at least for our first design. And there we go, a farm for both grasses, both bushes, and wildflowers all done. Before I leave here, let's speed up the dispensers and improve the farms by pushing all the observers in rather than placing them in. I could give you a technical explanation of that, but basically pushing them in makes them double speed. Okay, let's grab a bunch of the stuff that we have and take it home. Now the reason I'm not doing a leaf litter farm is because leaf litter is made by smelting leaves. Leaf farms are, in general, currently broken in Minecraft. I need to find a good one, but until then, I'll work on building a better smelter in a few weeks. I'm sure some of you have also heard about gold farm changes in 121.5 and you're wondering if I know about them or if I've seen the change or if my farm is broken, so I thought I'd just come show you. Gold farms that do not rely on the player killing mobs now won't drop the special loot like swords and most importantly XP. so this farm will work just fine because I'm hitting them. But if you have an old donut farm that you aggro them once and then AFK for hours, that's not going to work. Dash Pump 4's farm, the one that I'm using, or Fortune 8 Diamonds, should both work great, as will many other designs still. It's time to build the last farm of the episode, or rather 5 farms. For cactus flowers, I'm going back to a new and small design by Mortings again to build these. The design is a simple double piston extender that will knock off the flowers of the cactuses while letting the cactus grow back when it chooses to grow more. Overall, it's a very simple, very light farm, and I'll make 5 as it's also very, very slow. And that should just about do it. These 5 farms will take ages to run, so I won't wait around for now, but they're just below my main storage, so we'll be here all the time. Okay, so while I was finishing this episode, I decided to make my own, better bush and dry grass farm. The tutorial is now out at the exact same time as this video. Basically, the farms I made were super easy starter farms, but the new ones will be 4 times faster and hold a lot more bone meal. I'm going to speed through the building of these, but you can build it with the tutorial if you want. It's a block by block example of what to do. Are these perfect now? No. But they're much better than how I was going to leave the episode. Conceptually, instead of mining 1 at a time, or even 2 as I was, I'm going to purpose build this to mine 4 bushes or 4 dry grasses at once down a controlled strip of mud. The mud will let the drops fall through and the hoppers underneath can collect everything. Let's see how we go with this. Oh yeah, as far as I'm aware, mine is the fastest bush and dry grass farm on YouTube currently. We'll see how long that lasts. Okay, that's 1 set of shears, and look, so much faster and way better. Let's quickly build another for the dry grasses. And to make the tall grass, I am using that double dispenser system. If I want to make the short dry grass, I simply let those run out of bone meal or replace them with solid blocks. These are incredibly fast compared to the ones I tried making off the top of my head, that's fine. I also didn't realize you could use a Silk Touch tool here, or I would have been using my pickaxe. The shears get burnt up pretty quickly, but it's fine. I learned. The shears are simple and disposable, but I will use my pick on these going forward. The last thing I want to show you is that you can now fly onto ladders and vines with your elytra. How cool is that? Instead of falling down the ladder like you used to, this is now safe to fly into. In the past, it was possible to fly into the top of a 1 wide hole that had a ladder all the way down, and die without the option of saving yourself, or at least pop a totem. You can even fly while crouching like this and stop exactly where you are. And yes, it works with vines. Alright, next time I'm going to build this entire guild district from the city hub all the way up with more than a dozen new buildings as we get closer to finishing the city. That's all for now. I obviously haven't learned my lesson. Goodbye.